Imagine stepping back to a time when the world was alive with change, color, and possibility. A time when children rode their bikes down quiet streets, listened to music on vinyl records, and watched black and white television in the evenings with the family. Growing up in the 1960s was like living in a kaleidoscope of experiences, from the simple joys of neighborhood games to the exciting transformations of culture, music, and technology. For children of the 1960s, life often began in close-knit communities. Many seniors today remember streets lined with houses where kids knew everyone's name. The morning might start with a simple breakfast of toast, eggs, or cereal, the radio quietly playing a song by Elvis Presley or the Beatles. Children would hurry off to school, carrying metal lunchboxes adorned with cartoon characters or popular superheroes, and returning home in the afternoon to explore the neighborhood with friends. Bicycle rides were a favorite pastime, racing along sidewalks or through quiet lanes, while games like hopscotch, marbles, or stickball filled hours with laughter and friendly competition. Television was a growing presence in the home, offering both entertainment and a window into the world beyond. Families gathered around small black and white sets to watch shows such as The Andy Griffith Show, Bewitched, The Twilight Zone, or The Flintstones. These programs brought humor, wonder, and sometimes a touch of the fantastical into daily life. Seniors today often remember the excitement of a favorite program, the anticipation of commercial breaks, and the lively discussion at the dinner table afterward. Children memorized lines, tried to imitate their favorite characters, and dreamed of adventures inspired by the stories on the screen. Music was the heartbeat of the decade. The early 1960s were still humming with the rock and roll of Elvis Presley, Chuck Berry, and Little Richard, while the mid-decade explosion of the Beatles, the Rolling Stones, and other British invasion bands captivated teens around the world. Dancing to the music in living rooms, school halls, or sock hopping at local community events was a cherished ritual. Vinyl records were carefully handled, played on turntables, and replayed again and again. Music didn't just entertain. It was a language, a way for children and teenagers to express themselves, to feel connected to something larger than their small neighborhoods. Fashion was another defining aspect of growing up in the 1960s. For children and teens, the decade offered playful experimentation. Girls wore poodle skirts, saddle shoes, or colorful dresses, while boys often wore neatly pressed slacks, button-up shirts, or jeans paired with simple t-shirts. By the mid-1960s, the influence of counterculture began to appear, with tie-dye, bell-bottoms, and bold, psychedelic colors making their way into clothing and schoolyards. Seniors today remember the joy of picking out an outfit for a school dance or a Sunday outing, or the excitement of seeing new trends in magazines or on television. School life in the 1960s had its own rhythm. Classrooms were lively, teachers often strict but nurturing, and children spent hours learning reading, arithmetic, and history. Recess and after-school activities provided time for exploration and imagination. Many seniors today recall building forts, riding homemade go-karts, or reading comic books quietly under a tree. Libraries and bookstores were places of discovery, filled with colorful stories that sparked creativity and wonder. Food and snacks also shaped the experience of childhood. Lunchboxes might contain sandwiches, fruit, and a small treat, perhaps a sweet from the corner store. Popular snacks included Fritos, Hostess cupcakes, or Tang, a powdered drink mix that children eagerly stirred up for a refreshing treat. Families often gathered around the kitchen table for meals, sharing stories from the day, discussing the news, and enjoying home-cooked dishes. Technology began to play an increasing role in the 1960s. While there were no personal computers or smartphones, the introduction of appliances like color televisions, transistor radios, and record players offered new ways to experience music and media. Seniors often recall the first time they saw a color broadcast, the fascination of small gadgets like handheld cameras, or the novelty of the early video games that were just beginning to appear. Each innovation was a glimpse into the future, exciting children and adults alike. The 1960s were also a decade of social change, and even children felt the ripple effects. The civil rights movement in the United States, the space race culminating in the moon landing of 1969, and the rise of global pop culture were all part of the world in which children grew up. Seniors today may remember learning about these events in school, seeing coverage on television, or overhearing adults discuss the changing world. Even small acts, like attending community events or listening to inspirational speeches on the radio, helped children understand that they were growing up in a time of transformation. Sports and outdoor activities were central to childhood. Neighborhood games of baseball, football, or soccer filled weekends and evenings, and local swimming pools or beaches became gathering places for families. Many seniors recall the joy of riding bicycles to the park, skipping stones across a pond, or learning to skate or surf. These moments weren't just about play. They were about freedom, friendship, and the simple pleasures of being a child. Holidays and special occasions were highlights of the decade. Christmas mornings brought excitement over wrapped presents, often simple but treasured. Easter egg hunts, Halloween costumes, and birthdays provided opportunities for community and celebration. Families often crafted decorations, baked treats, and created traditions that became cherished memories for years to come. Seniors today can recall these rituals vividly, recalling not just the events, but the feelings of warmth, love, and anticipation that surrounded them. Pop culture of the 1960s offered heroes and role models that shaped childhood imagination. Superheroes like Superman, Batman, and Spider-Man captured the imagination through comic books, radio shows, and television. Animated characters like Yogi Bear, Scooby-Doo, and the Jetsons sparked creativity, inspiring play, costumes, and storytelling among friends. Actors such as Lucille Ball, Dick Van Dyke, and Mary Tyler Moore continued to shape laughter and family entertainment on television, bridging childhood memories with the broader culture. The 1960s also encouraged creativity and hobbies. Arts and crafts became popular in schools and at home, with children making model airplanes, painting, or creating homemade toys. Music lessons, amateur photography, and collecting stamps or coins offered ways to explore interests and talents. Seniors today remember these activities not just as pastimes, but as experiences that nurtured imagination, skill, and a sense of accomplishment. By the end of the decade, growing up in the 1960s was a blend of simplicity and transformation. Children experienced the joys of community, play, and family, while witnessing a world in motion, politically, culturally, and technologically. Seniors today recall the songs, shows, fashions, and everyday routines that shaped their youth, realizing that even the smallest moments, riding a bike, listening to a favorite record, or watching a cherished TV program, were part of a rich tapestry of memory and experience. The decade also left an enduring sense of connection across generations. Grandparents who remember the 1960s often share these stories with younger family members, recounting the freedom, discovery, and innocence of their own childhood. They recall the sounds of laughter echoing down neighborhood streets, the first excitement of popular songs on the radio, and the thrill of stepping outside into a world full of possibility. Growing up in the 1960s was, in essence, a balance of simplicity and change, a time when childhood was lived with hands-on curiosity, neighbors were friends, and small moments created lasting memories. It was a decade of music, television, family, and adventure, of outdoor play, imaginative games, and the quiet lessons of daily life. Seniors today carry these memories not only as nostalgia, but as proof of the joy, resilience, and wonder that childhood can offer, even in a world moving quickly toward the future. And so, when we think of the 1960s, we remember more than a decade. We remember a way of growing up. Streets, classrooms, living rooms, and parks were stages for laughter, discovery, and imagination. Radios and televisions connected us to stories beyond our own neighborhoods. Music and fashion shaped identity and expression. And through it all, family, friends, and community provided the guidance, love, and companionship that made childhood rich, meaningful, and unforgettable.